Yeah, it's in progress. Right, great
Over to
stuff.
you, Richard.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Annette. So, just with a way of introduction, Horizon Works is a business-to-business marketing company based in Northumberland. Just moved to Blythe in the sort of the heart of Energy Essential, big offshore wind and engineering hub. So we're Make UK members. We're also Make UK Defence members and partners with Make UK Defence on the Fit for Defence programme. So some people might know us from that as well. We tend to work with ambitious, fast-growing, innovation-led businesses, primarily from the engineering and manufacturing sectors and also businesses that support those sectors. And we work with businesses regionally, nationally, and internationally as well. So just a few things that we can help you with if you're looking at expansion and growth, strategic focus. So if you are looking at a new strategy or want to kind of focus your marketing strategy in a more kind of directed way, we can help reinvigorate brands. So looking at brand messaging, brand story, and obviously the visual elements of brand as well. We can help people diversify. That's something that we do quite a lot of with working with the defence industry. We also help businesses in international reach, so helping them with export campaigns and looking at the materials that they can use in those campaigns. And we can help you in general terms re-energize your marketing. So if you're feeling that your marketing is starting to go a bit stale, or you're not so sure kind of what direction it should take, we can help you to put some more energy into a more sort of acceleration into that. So just a quick list of services: strategy, brand development, websites, content marketing, PR, social media, email marketing, SEO, design and animation. We can offer all of those to manufacturing businesses. So we're going to talk about how to market your business when you can't talk about your clients. It's something that we get asked a lot about. We often go into manufacturing businesses and engineering businesses and say we've got some fantastic clients, and we think, brilliant, we can start doing some work around them, and that sounds, like, godsend. And then they say, yeah, but we've got NDAs in place, so we can't talk about them. So we're kind of used to finding routes to help businesses market themselves when they have that challenge. So it can be, that the kind of feedback that we get represented in these quotes. People say, well, we have to be careful about mentioning names on social media. There's sensitivity to it. They'll have a great case study, but they don't think they can get the permission to use it, or the permission might take 6 months or a year when it goes through corporate. People have great projects that they're working on, but they're not able to talk about it. They're not able to. The NDAs are in place, confidentiality agreements are in place, and they can't mention it on the website, or they can't mention it on social media. And that sort of creates this sort of feeling that people don't know where to start with the marketing. They see this challenge, they see this barrier coming up, and think we can't do any marketing. There's nothing that we can do. If we can't talk about our clients, then we're kind of stuck, and we get that quite a bit. So this webinar is going to help you to think about how you can build your profile and get noticed without revealing who you work with, to understand what makes a great story for social media and the press, and how to communicate that, and how to promote your expertise through creating sort of more engaging content, technical articles, and understand the digital tools which help your business stand out from the crowd. So understand that some of you might be familiar with marketing, others might not be so familiar. So there's something that hopefully everyone can take away. So we're going to look at a real range of activities in this session, covering a lot of ground. As Annette said, there's going to be a poll at the end where we're talking about kind of suggestions around what people would like to find out more about. This is a series of webinars, so it might be that in subsequent webinars, you might want to focus in on awards, or you might focus in on how to get the most out of events or social media or websites, whatever it might be. But this is going to be kind of an overview to help this sort of overcome this barrier around not being able to talk about clients. So just some basics first, really. You know, we think, you know, obviously it's very important that, you know, if you're going to go into marketing, you're going to put resource into it, that you have a clear brand proposition and that's effectively communicated. So what is your company about? What's the purpose of your company? What are the USPs? How do you help the businesses that you work with? It's really important to have that as the basis for everything that you do and everything going forward. So that is something that can be obviously communicated on your website and social media and in all touch points really with your prospects. You need also to develop key messaging tailored to target audiences as well. So you might be looking at targeting operations managers. Your audience might be managing directors. It might be engineers kind of on the ground working on kit. But it's really important to have that kind of key messaging around your business, what you can do to help them, how you can solve problems for them, and the credibility behind your business as well, to ensure that that messaging reaches those target audiences and it is present in all the touch points with your audiences as well. It's important that the brand proposition and the messaging is used consistently across all marketing channels, so that there's no confusion about what your offering is to people. So if you're presenting on a slide deck, you've got a website, you've got your LinkedIn page, then they're all all those touch points are singing from the same hymn sheet, so that there's no confusion about what your company stands for, what it's about, and what you can offer people. Developing a marketing strategy and a marketing plan are really important parts of the journey too. Getting those done right at the start before you start throwing money at marketing is really important, so that you know what your objectives are, that you can plan ahead in terms of events, in terms of product launches, in terms of the major milestones that you have in the company, and the strategy should be aligned to your business objectives. So understanding what those short, medium, and long-term business objectives are and how marketing tactics align to them. And then lastly, creating a marketing toolkit. So we would put in the toolkit things like a slide deck, a brochure, digital assets. It might be data sheets. It might be exhibition banners, things like that. Anything that is going to help you kind of on your marketing journey. So appreciate that this is probably several webinars in itself, this slide, but it's really important when you're going out there to market, you're thinking about these basic components of moving your marketing forward. But this is kind of the more meaty stuff, really, and this is the really important ideas around how you can get over this barrier of not being able to talk about your clients. So public relations, people think maybe I shouldn't be going out there, maybe I should keep my company under the radar. I don't want to draw attention to what we do. I don't want to talk about our clients. I can't mention, how am I going to get a story out about how great our company is if I can't mention a project or mention a great client that we work with? How can I do that? So what I would say is, your organization is full of great stories. Everyone on this webinar, every company, every manufacturer is full of great stories. Sometimes we go in to see a manufacturer and we start that process of talking about the news pipeline, the story pipeline. And once you get people's brains firing and thinking about, oh yes, actually, we have invested in that kit, or we have invested in training, or that person in our team's just achieved, you know, a 20-year anniversary. You know, those sort of things start firing in people's minds and thinking, actually, there's plenty of things we could talk about, even if we can't talk about that huge contract that we've just won with Rolls-Royce or whoever it might be. So a few ideas around that. You can shape stories around business growth. So thinking about your response to market demand, how successful you might have been in diversification, how many contracts you might have won, what the turnover looks like. You know, those kind of successes help build a positive impression of the company, you know, a positive feel about it, that you're able to respond to that demand, you're able to meet the demands of the market and be able to kind of push your product innovations forward. Investment in equipment and facilities and the site are really, really great stories. You know, there's some fantastic manufacturing facilities in Make UK and the Make UK community. I've seen them myself. There's really, really good stories in around what the investment means for that site, that workforce, that local area, the economy of that local area, the capabilities of your business. So it might be that you've invested in some new welding bays or some new CNC machinery or some new robotic systems. But all of those things can kind of form stories that can give the prospects and give the readers and give people who engage with the business a feel of that your company is moving forward and you've got that kind of innovative mindset, and that, you know, you can talk about what extra capabilities that investment has given you as well. So even if you're not talking about perhaps who is benefiting from those capabilities in terms of a customer, you can start to plant seeds around, well, actually, this company can now help me because they've got that equipment in place, because they've got that facility on site. Obviously, new services and product launches are a really, really good source of news as well. If you're offering something new to the market, an innovation, a new product, clearly those things should be publicized. And staff appointments and promotions are also a really good way of getting news about your company out there. So a lot of publications, whether it's regional or trade publications, happily kind of run stories around staff appointments and promotions. There's a bit of kind of feel good to it, and often people are kind of nosy about who's going where and you know, what kind of roles they might have taken up. And in the manufacturing community, I think there's a curiosity about that. Certainly, some of the bulletins that we subscribe to here, often the appointment stories are the most read of the week. But in themselves, they talk about, there's an opportunity there to talk about business growth and again extending capabilities. But also to weave in the key messages around the business. So every time you appoint someone or appoint a new team or promote someone, it's an opportunity to talk about the business and its capabilities and how you can help your customers. Company milestones and anniversaries are really important as well. We've just done a campaign for the North East Automotive Alliance here in the Northeast about their 10th year anniversary. So marking the kind of achievements through that decade, looking at where they were and where they've come from. And I think company milestones and anniversaries are really good to put on that marketing plan I mentioned earlier, and to promote, because they again give you the opportunity to talk about the heritage of the business or the growth or what you've achieved and if you're an emerging business, what you've achieved in a short space of time. But really key to get them kind of booked into the calendar if you're going to start talking about them. Apprenticeship programs are a great source of news too. I've seen kind of apprenticeship announcements gain huge amounts of traction on LinkedIn. There's a real positivity towards apprenticeships. about giving a new generation of manufacturing and engineering staff an opportunity to grow. So if you can if you've got an apprenticeship program, it might just be one apprentice, it might be a team of 10, talk about when they're starting, talk about that intake, talk about their progress, talk about who you're working with to deliver those programs. There's a whole bunch of stories that come out of that. When they graduate from the apprenticeship, that sense of achievement that you can put across, and it really, really plays into how you're helping the business community and the local community that you're in, which kind of leads as well to ESG. So again, a webinar itself, but you can talk a lot about community engagement, things like STEM initiatives with local schools and colleges, environmental stewardship. All of those sort of things are good news stories, good positive news stories to take out of your company. So it might be around investment in the facility and your kind of environmental credentials. It might be about what you're doing with the local school and how you're helping kind of kids to grow their awareness of manufacturing. Whatever it is, it's really important to get that ESG message out there as well. And lastly, award wins and even award shortlistings. And we'll come on to awards in a bit, but again, brilliant source of news, fantastic way of promoting the company. You can get a lot of publicity from them, from both regional press and also trade press. A lot of awards have media partners. Brilliant way of just turning the spotlight on the company. So that's news. So next part is thought leadership. So what's thought leadership? Thought leadership is the ability to put across your ideas and your expertise and your credibility in the target market. So typically a blog or an opinion piece or even an appearance on a podcast, but it's something that gives something extra to the business. It's not just news, it's about your expertise, your technical expertise, your R&D expertise, your understanding of the industry that you're in. So first stage of that really is to look at, can you do it? So who are your experts and what can they talk about? Have you got someone in the business who's, that could be a national authority on a particular aspect of manufacturing, who's really at the cutting edge? Have you got someone in the business who's kind of been there and done that and got the t-shirt, who can give you a really kind of in-depth industry perspective about how manufacturing processes have changed, for instance? Have you got someone who's coming at things from a totally different angle? So it might be someone who perhaps works on the kind of the HR side, and they can talk about apprenticeships and they can talk about skills. But trade publications or manufacturing publications and engineering publications will be interested in hearing from industry commentators. These things aren't sales pitches. They're not about talking about what you can sell to people. It's not about that. It's about looking at their expertise and looking at how you can put that expertise across and building that trust in your business and raising the profile of your kind of your specialisms, essentially. So the way that you can do that is look at the trade publications, look at what things that they're kind of running. They normally have editorial calendars that are about 12 months ahead. They'll be looking at special features and things like that. Special focus areas of focus might be automation, might be something like ESG. It might be around something around process improvement, Kaizen, but whatever it might be, if you've got an expert that could potentially contribute to that in the form of some comment or a blog, they could well be interested in that. So it's worth getting in touch and pitching to them your expertise. Likewise, industry podcasts are really good ways of kind of getting more publicity and getting your expertise across. And some journals will be interested in technical articles and white papers too. Obviously that means a little bit more work, but if you've done some research, if you've got something that you can talk about in a more technical way, then they're a great way of building credibility and also building profile too. But probably one of the most important things from this is to build some relationships with editors and journalists. You can become a bit of a kind of go-to commentator in your industry, in your niche or your region. Once you've kind of built that up, they're the sort of people who would say, okay, I need a comment on this aspect of manufacturing or this government announcement of manufacturing or this investment that's going into this industry. I'll call so and so from this company who can really help me with that, and I know that I'm going to get some really good content from them and a really good quote. If you can build up those long-term relationships, it's really healthy because it helps you to keep appearing in the news. So looking at case studies as the next part. So case studies are a big challenge if you can't talk about how you actually have done the work for. So we do know it's tricky, but it's really still something that you should include on your website, on your slide decks. And the way to do it is anonymize your case studies. So setting the scene and explaining the challenge. So you can put the company as an example, so a major company working in food manufacturing or a major company working in offshore, but setting the scene and explaining the challenge. So looking at what the technical challenge was, what they commissioned you to do, showing kind of stage by stage how you overcame that challenge for your client, and what you helped them achieve. So if you have helped them to increase, production by 20%, or you've helped them to reduce energy use, or you've helped them to further a project that that was coming to a standstill, any of those kind of things are really great kind of achievements that you can put across in a case study. I think, yes, it's anonymous, but I think if you can explain that challenge and solution and how you brought those capabilities into that project, then there's still a lot of value to that. And I think a lot of manufacturers do understand, especially in certain industries, they do understand that you can't necessarily name a client. But overall, the case study should talk about what you helped the client achieve. It's not just what you did for them, but what the end result was and in the long term for them. You can always request an anonymized testimonial as well, but I think the important thing is to put those kind of figures and percentages in if you can, and even use some infographics to support that. So graphics that kind of highlight the success of that project. Looking at your website, that is your shop window. So it's really important to communicate the capabilities and sectors. So sometimes, we look at websites and companies say that they work in a particular sector. So it's like defense or offshore or food and beverage or automotive, but they don't talk about what capabilities they actually offer to that sector specifically. They just kind of name it. And obviously, yes, in some sectors, especially defense, nuclear as well, you can't name the clients necessarily that you work with, but you can talk about the capabilities and your problem solving expertise in those sectors. So drawing in all the things on the website that make your company capable in those sectors, and making sure that they're articulated. You can communicate your track record to reinforce credibility. So again, that's not necessarily about name dropping. It might be around how much time the business has been going and the kind of expertise you built up. It could be around the partnerships that you've built up with, you know, potentially things like universities or other research organizations or other partners. It could be around, you know, your partnerships with other suppliers, and just trying to get that kind of credibility across in that track record is really important. Incorporating news and blog content. So we spoke about that before. Really important to show that on the website. If you've got great news stories, they should be on the website. People should be able to see them. It gives the feel that your your company is alive, it's growing, it's positive. Likewise with the blog content, the kind of thought leadership content that we talked about, that can go on the website as well. And having that kind of anonymized case study section and testimonials is really important to add to that credibility. Certification and accreditations are important too. Again, sometimes we come across websites that don't have those, so they're kind of, you know, hard-earned to achieve certain certifications and accreditations in your industry. So you do need to have them front and center on the website and the homepage or on an About Us page. And increasingly, ESG information is important to businesses in the manufacturing sector. So it's important that you have kind of the ESG piece, if you like, on the website, what your policy is, evidence that you're carrying that policy out, to be able to kind of show that you're serious about ESG, and that you're committed to it, because it does help in the wider piece around kind of promoting your business and ensuring that businesses, you know, will actually want to do business with you because they have that understanding of what you're doing. High quality photography is really important on the website. Can't stress that enough. It's a really, really good investment. It goes back to the website being a shop window. It's, you know, sometimes in manufacturing, you will get on a website kind of a real mishmash of photography. Some might look great. You might get some stock photography. You might get stuff that's kind of a machine at the corner of the factory that's kind of a bit dirty and a bit mucky, and, you know, doesn't really reflect how good your company is. It kind of detracts from it, really. So I think high quality photography is really important. And again, investing in search engine optimization to ensure that companies are finding you for the right keywords. So again, another website in itself, but starting to consider how you might use SEO to get people to the website through Google search. And content marketing is, again, you know, a really important aspect of marketing your business if you can't talk about your clients. So there's a few ideas here, and it's not by any means, you know, there's plenty that you can go at, but there's a few ideas here which might help you to get your expertise out there and get your name out there, get the name of the business out there. So comment pieces on industry trends and developments. Personally, I really like these. I find them really useful. If I see something like that on LinkedIn, you know, I'm the sort of person that I want to know what's happening in the industry, what's on the horizon, what the kind of forecasts are, why certain things are happening. Other people in the manufacturing industry and potential clients will also kind of want to know that as well. If you can kind of put comment pieces out which show your understanding of the industry and what's happening in it, it helps to draw people to your business. It helps to draw people to your social media and to your website. And it really helps to position you as a thought leader, as we talked about earlier on. Guides and FAQs are great as well. You know, if you can look at an FAQ, you know, look at think about the kind of questions that people are asking your business about a particular aspect of what you do and what you manufacture. Something that can provide some useful information for people to take away with them. they're great pieces of content. People are looking for help all the time online. If you can provide that to them, that's fantastic. Q&A articles, again, with staff members or partners with your business as well, they can be really interesting. So get an idea of the kind of work you do and the expertise of your staff, getting a kind of a human element across, and being able to really promote the capabilities of your staff as well. I think that is a really good way of, especially on kind of social media, of help to personalize your business and giving it a kind of a human face, while also being able to talk about what your business actually does and the capabilities. I mentioned white papers and technical articles earlier on. You can host those on your website, and use what we call like gated content, which is essentially if someone wants to download a white paper or a technical article, they have to fill in their name and address and details to be able to do that, which gives a lead and a potential for further interaction. Because something like a white paper or a technical article, there's a lot of work goes into that, and it's really important to kind of be able to kind of have to promote that as something that's going to have greater value to people. So having kind of a gated part of the website where people have to put in their details, it just helps to give you some leads, give you some potential further contacts, but also puts a higher value on those kind of white papers and technical articles. And video content as well is very, very important now as well in manufacturing marketing. So showing staff, facilities, processes, products, and events. It could be a short, snappy kind of interview with a staff member talking about what they're doing. It could be a product demonstration. It could be looking at, highlighting some new facilities that you've got in the building, or some new capabilities. But those kind of videos are really, really great at engaging people on social media, and it can also be hosted on your website and used in things like slide decks. Social media, obviously, something that is essential really to business marketing. So just some ideas around how you can join the conversation. It's important to ensure that your bios are up to date and reflect your brand and key messages. So going back to what we talked about earlier on, the importance of those key messages, ensure they are reflected in, for instance, your LinkedIn company page. You can share content from your website. So if you've started to generate that news pipeline that we talked about earlier, and the blogs and the guides and the FAQs, all of that is great content to share on your website. So yes, you might not have case studies with the OEMs that perhaps you would like, but there's plenty of other things that you can share on social media. Things like the videos that we mentioned earlier on, they're absolutely great for drawing attention to your business. Talking about events that you're attending as well. So in the build up and also live from the events, that's really a really great way of drawing attention to your staff and to the business, and talking about how you can, how can maybe engage with people a little bit more if they're attending an event. Posting on your team's achievement and also ESG activities. So that might be things like a charity event or a college or university visit, or again, when we talked about the apprentices earlier on, really good ways of drawing attention to how you're putting something back into the community and back into the development of the industry. And sharing industry news as well. So commenting on and sharing industry news. So if you follow the Make UK LinkedIn account, which I would advise that you do because it's great and there's plenty of great content on there, surveys, reports, announcements, etc. That's just one place to start, but there's a lot on there. Then it gives you an opportunity to share news on things like new investments, new announcements, and comment on them. If there's some new investment going into your area that is really good for the manufacturing industry there, or there's a particular a particular announcement around funding, or it might be around a new government announcement. I mean, obviously the government have got the industrial strategy in movement at the moment. So thinking about what kind of comments and what kind of positive comments can come out of those kind of announcements and those kind of industry news pieces. LinkedIn groups are also a really good way of further engaging with other people in your industry, but also potential prospects as well. So if you're on LinkedIn, there are LinkedIn groups which talk about a particular aspect of your industry or manufacturing or engineering. There's a lot of them out there. Do some research, look at the ones that are most relevant to you, look at the ones that some of your contacts on LinkedIn are following as well and are engaged in, and see if you can join those groups to kind of further help to promote the business and promote your expertise. And again, follow relevant networks and media outlets and industry figures on LinkedIn as well. So starting with me, KK, I have to say. Just skimming over some things around creative, because I think bringing your business to life is really important. Again, if you can't talk about your clients, you can still demo your technology. You can still look at how interactive content or virtual reality or augmented reality can help to bring your business to life. And, I see some fantastic animations and demos of products, of services, of kit, of capabilities out there in kind of manufacturing marketing. So really important to kind of start thinking about how you can embrace some of these creative tactics to be able to help people to understand your business better, help to push your brand forward, and also just to give people some practical ideas around how you can support them. So demo videos being one of the most important parts of that. Email marketing, again, gives you an opportunity to reach out to clients and prospects. When we talked about earlier, building up that pipeline of news and thought leadership, something like an e-newsletter that goes out to your database can help you disseminate that content more, and also you can analyze the results. If you use software like MailChimp, you can analyze the results that come back from that. So how many people have opened it, how many people have clicked, who's gone through to what link. And again, it gives you potentially some prospects as well, who you might want to be engaged with going forward. And lastly, awards. So awards give you the opportunity to build credibility, tell the story of your business, and there's normally good PR around awards, whether it's with a media outlet or whether it's an organization like Make UK. There's a lot of buzz around awards, so very much worth considering looking at the awards that are coming through in 2025, what you can go for, and even if you're just shortlisted and even if you don't win, you can still shout about it. Events, again, a really good way of marketing the business if you can't talk about the clients. So looking at researching relevant events and building that plan. So ensuring that you have an events plan and that you know which events are going to get you hopefully the best ROI. But pitching for those kind of speaking opportunities and workshops. So using the thought leadership and using the kind of the expertise that you've developed in the team to get in front of people. So it's not just about putting an exhibition stand out, it's about presenting at a seminar, presenting at a workshop, or being a speaker, keynote speaker potentially as well. But talking about your kind of, being able to talk about your capabilities or innovations or research is something that, really does help to build credibility around the business. And lastly, networks. So what you put into networks is what you get out, really. So looking at how you can engage with network events, submitting news for network communications. So if you build up that news pipeline that we talked about earlier, it's a really good way of spreading that great news and positive news about the company. Looking at what events and workshops and expos and conferences, the networks you're in, can what opportunities there are to potentially present at those kind of those events, and making sure that you take advantage of things like directories or e-marketing opportunities that those networks offer, and also just building those relationships with members. And that can mean attending the events, but that can also mean being able to kind of start those one-to-one relationships, meeting for a coffee, talking about, bringing people together and talking about kind of the challenges that you're facing and how you might collaborate. So leveraging relationships, essentially. We've got a few examples here that we've collated just to give you kind of a little bit of a flavour of what you can do. So this is a company called Petlard's Rail Solutions. So it's a Make UK member. So they published on their website a guest writer feature with Rail Business Daily that they did. So their chief technical architect talking about their innovation of their system. So he's not mentioning clients and that, but it's talking about the system and how that's bringing innovation to the rail industry. And their social media posts, they're about meeting the team. They're about demoing the technology. The one kind of in the middle there, it's a playthrough of their sensor technology, and then looking at kind of the events as well. So none of that talks about a client that they've got, but all of it gives a positive impression of the business and helps you understand what the business is more. This is Industrial Marine Hydraulics, kind of does what it says on the tin. It's a hydraulic specialist in Middlesbrough, and they work on things like the Channel Tunnel, and they manufacture hydraulic systems for offshore industry and for automotive. So these are anonymized case studies on their website. So they haven't, again, they haven't mentioned the client on these, but they've talked about the technical challenges. They've kind of got into the technical kind of nitty gritty to an extent of what they did and how they helped the customer. So this kind of thing is a really good way of building that credibility, of showing the expertise, showing how a problem can be overcome, but you don't have to name names. And there's a structure to that which kind of shows out the work and the solution and the end results. Some PR examples on thought leadership and news. So BEP Service Technologies over in the Northwest. Their spokesman, Andrew McCluskey, is written a two-page piece for Engineering magazine. So, they're not talking there about a client that they've worked on in the nuclear industry. They're talking about their expertise in that sector and innovation, and that will have been pitched to Engineering magazine. Some opportunities like that are paid for, and it might be worth considering a budget towards that. But sometimes it's something that the editor wants and feels will add value to the readership. And platforms like the manufacturer, so stories about in this case a factory improvement drive. We talked earlier on. I mean, that's some funding that they've secured for that. We talked earlier on about investments in factories, facilities, equipment, capabilities, etc. Those are great positive stories that publications like the manufacturer would cover. Again, we'll look at Production Engineering Solutions. Again, really good media outlet. And Wall Columni securing funding for advanced casting capability. So again, it's like you're looking at that thinking, okay, this company now has that capability, or is about to have it in the future. Potentially, they could work with me on a certain project that I've got. So it draws attention to that. And this is one of our clients on the right, that Divine Chemicals, a chemical manufacturer, as it says. And this is in a regional news article about them opening a new facility. So opened a lab over in the northwest and expanded their facility in County Durham. So again, they're not talking about the clients; they're talking about how they've invested in that facility. So just some key takeaways, really. Getting the basics right and building that kind of blueprint going forward. Looking at the positive headline making stories that your business has, and believe me, there will be there. It's every business has them. Communicating your expertise and your track record. Bringing the kind of your business to life by things like creative content and using the tools and channels at your disposal strategically. So whether it's events or whether it's awards or whether it's your website, looking at those and thinking about how they can fit into your overall strategy. So that's it for me. If anyone has any questions or anyone wants to unmute.
Thank you very much, Richard. That was really insightful. We've got one question that popped up in the chat. This is from an anonymous attendee.
Yeah.
And the question is, we manufacture for the luxury sector and need to keep our marketing channels at that luxury high-end level. How would you suggest highlighting staff, machinery, events that may not visually in their message line up with our overall high-end image? Very interesting question.
Yeah, it is a really interesting question. I think to an extent that would partly go to what channels are being used to promote that business. So as an example, if you were like looking at kind of luxury products or that kind of luxury market, I would immediately be thinking about channels such as Instagram and Facebook. But I would say that, given that LinkedIn has, that B2B element to it, I wouldn't say that LinkedIn would be unsuitable for that kind of content. I think it has to be done to a very high standard. So we talked earlier on about photography, and we talked about videography as well. So investing in that to have it at a high level that matches, I guess, that the high level that your products and your products are at. But I think it is an interesting question because I guess it's about kind of ensuring that the perception of your business is kind of the same on whatever you're trying to promote. But I think that it goes down to the channels. Some people would use something like Facebook. Some companies would use Facebook purely as a sort of an ESG apprenticeship and staff related channel. So they wouldn't use Facebook necessarily to promote products. They would use it to promote the culture and the community of the business. Likewise, something like LinkedIn, they might kind of put thought leadership on LinkedIn. They might put more technical content on LinkedIn, but they wouldn't put that on Facebook or Instagram. So I think it's maybe selecting the best channel for that kind of content. I think that's probably the way to go. But happy to have a further discussion. I know it was an anonymous question, but if anyone wants to contact me, very happy to have a further discussion on that.
Excellent. Okay, are there any more questions? Do feel free as well to unmute yourself. No, that either means, hang on, we've got one. Excellent. What kind of budget is required for the activities that you advised?
It's a bit how long is a piece of string. So what I would say is, if you're looking at kind of, if we take as an example a PR campaign, so putting out a couple of news pieces a month, a couple of thought leadership pieces a month, and putting some a budget towards getting those pieces into trade publications. If you used an agency rather than generate the content yourself, so if you used an agency, you might be looking around, an investment around about, it could be around about the £2,000 a month mark, something like that. It depends really on, where you are, what kind of agency you might be using. If you've got brilliant writers in-house, if you've got someone who's got time to write a technical piece themselves, then obviously that can help you to save on external budget. Some businesses that we work with, they would use us to do the kind of the PR side, but they would have specialists in-house who would do the more technical pieces. So I think it's trying to look at the blend really of the expertise you've got in-house and what you would need to provide externally. But I think that, even if you said, okay, we're gonna put out a couple of good content pieces a month on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's free to use. It doesn't cost you anything to use LinkedIn unless you want to do an advertising campaign. But if you had someone in-house, or maybe someone who could help you write those pieces, and do a little bit of editing on them, things like that, it wouldn't necessarily cost the earth to start getting that ball rolling.
Now here's one, Richard.
But websites, things like that are yeah.
So this is, would you work on a success rewards basis as a partner with the manufacturer to share the profit rather than on a retainer? That might be, it's quite specific, isn't it? But yeah, might be worth a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like some agents. I mean, we wouldn't ourselves, but some agencies would. It would kind of depend on. I mean, a lot of agencies would. It's difficult for me to sort of to say that, because I can't talk for every agency, but typically most agencies would work on either a retainer basis or a project basis, and it might be like a short-term investment on for instance, like a 3-month or 6-month project. Look at the results at the end of that, and then if the results are looking good, or there's progress there, then there could be a reinvestment. But I wouldn't sort of say necessarily. I can't think there's many agencies would do it for free, because there's a lot of investment and time and work goes into this. I think there would be always be some kind of arrangement around a project cost or a retainer cost, at least in the short term.
Yeah, it might be worth having a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah.
See what the business needs and what options are out there.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. That's absolutely fine, because people can be flexible and structure a marketing project accordingly. It doesn't have to be like a year-long commitment or something like that. It can be, as I say, it can be a short-term project based. Yeah.
And then one last question here. How do you find the best podcasts available in your niche? Or if a company were to start a podcast, how do you get expert in the field to continually contribute to the podcast to keep the channel active and not employees?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So we've got a podcast called Invented, which is basically we interview inventors. So we've had people from the space industry, we've had people from offshore, we've had people from biotech, and they're kind of through our, like, a lot of them are through our client base and our networks, and we've put calls out to the network partners that we're part of to say, is there someone you suggest who's got something really innovative? So we got a really good external agency to do that with us. So we do the kind of the questions, we do the presenting, if you like, and that element of it, and then the agency does the kind of, they've got a great studio, they've got a good sound equipment, and they do the kind of the production of it, if you like. So there's a lot of good podcasting companies now around, because it is a growth industry. I think if you're looking at kind of finding out what podcasts are good to appear on, a lot of the main media outlets for manufacturing and engineering have their own podcasts now that are like kind of associated with the brand. So that's a really good place to start. There's podcasts like Engineering Insight, which a guy called Thomas Flood does, and that's brilliant. He really he tends to interview kind of business leaders in manufacturing and engineering, but unveil some like fantastic sort of personal stories on it as well. So he's a good recommendation. If you go in and kind of search manufacturing, engineer, etc. on podcasts on Apple or Spotify, that'll bring stuff up. But I do think it's good to start with some of the main media outlets who have the podcasts attached to them, because I think they have a bit of sort of clout and investment behind them, and they can kind of reach some really big audiences. But yeah, I mean, like I say, we're, as a company that, you know, we've done about 5 podcasts now. We started this series last year. It's been a really good journey. But in terms of getting guests and not just staff, I think it's reaching out to your clients, reaching out to your networks. So if you're in like Make UK or Northeast Automotive Alliance, I'm just talking about up here, but there's like Midlands Aerospace, there's Make UK Defence, there's Chemicals Northwest. You know, there's a whole bunch of organisations right around the country who will have members who are of interest and align, you know, with what your business is doing. But trying to get, you know, at the beginning a bit of a brainstorm around who you can speak to is a good idea. I mean, like I say, we take ours from various contacts that we've got and diverse range of industries as well. So it's yeah, good. You know, it's great that people are talking about podcasts that are starting to be interested in doing them.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Richard. Whilst you answer that final question, I've already launched the poll and we're getting some good feedback on that. So if you haven't looked at that yet, please do so. Next steps for us, we will send a follow-up email out after the event finishes. Richard, can we share a copy of your slides?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll send that over to you now. Yeah, no problem.
We'll share those with you, and then you've got a bit of an 8 memoir there as well. And then we'll communicate next webinars coming up. So do keep your eyes peeled on our Make UK Eventbrite page, where you can see all of our events as well. And it would be wrong of me not to mention at this stage as well, when we're talking about all these different channels that are out there. We do have, of course, the Make UK Capability Platform, which is a member-to-member online interactive tool where you can shout about your achievements as well, and crucially list all those exciting capabilities that you have available within the business. I will include a link to the capability platform if you're not already on there as well, and do feel free to reach out to either myself, I'm Annette Hobson, the Regional Membership Manager, supporting members across the north, or of course you've also got your own membership managers and directors that are here for you at any stage as well. So at this point, Richard, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your expertise with us.
No problems. I put my email in the chat, so it's richard@horizon-works.com. But Annette, if you wanted to send that out, my details out as well with the presentation when you send it out. And I'm very happy to have, you know, if anyone's got any further questions, anyone wants to have a chat about anything we've raised today, I'm very happy to set up a call. You know, and thanks for attending, really, and thanks Annette for the opportunity as well. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone. Cheers. Thank you.